Welcome to Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country show, home to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Monument and Sequoia National Forest, and the charming historic agricultural communities that make up Tulare County. Welcome, everyone. It is time for our Big Blend Radio California Sequoia Country show. And of course, that is up in Central California, home to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Forest, Sequoia National Forest. I'm getting it all straight here. And then, of course, all the communities of Tulare County. And that's what we're going to focus on in the second half of today's podcast. We talk about museums, we talk about car shows, antique tractor shows, art tours that you can take in the area, wildflowers. And of course, we're going to talk about wildflowers because spring in the Sequoias, there's nothing like it. And very excited to have Holly Stripe back on the show from Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. How are you doing?
Hey, Lisa, I'm great. Thanks for having me here.
Now, I heard you got snow, but then does it feel like spring yet? What's going on?
Yeah, so the great thing about our parks is that you can really travel to all different kinds of weather and experiences in one place. So up in the Giant Forest area, we finally have some really good snow. People have been visiting our snow play areas only to find that there's not really much snow to play in. And now, like the Wolverton area, for example, just has a ton of snow up there. I think the snow line is down to it was down to 4,000 feet elevation. So things are looking really beautiful. Even on the drive in, you can really see the snow-capped mountains. It's just gorgeous. The foothills are green. So if you want winter, go up to the Giant Forest or Grant Grove. If you want spring, the foothills are a great place to start really looking for the wildflowers that are popping up. My favorite is when the California poppy comes up, the beautiful orange flowers that kind of cover the hillsides. We've got some lupin and other things like that to look for. So it's just a really lovely time in the foothills from now until, early summer. Some of my favorite hikes are like the Marble Falls Trail. That's one where you can see a ton of wildflowers. So I'm looking forward to doing that one. But it's also just really lovely right now. With that springtime, the green foothills, as you know, the foothills are that golden color for most of the year when everything's dried up. But right now is a great time to see all that really fresh green. It's just beautiful to be around, and the oak trees are really popping out too.
Oh, I love the oaks when they get those new little leaves. I love spring green. It's fresh, it's renewal, and when the wildflowers come, the birds are all like, yippee, stuff's going on. The bears may start waking up and saying, howdy. Are there berries yet? They're all coming out. So it's and then when you get in late spring, early summer, going to like the meadow, Crescent Meadow, my favorite place. That is paradise. I keep calling it Paradise Meadow, but it's not. That's not Rainier, but it is paradise over there.
Yeah.
But I've seen recently, because of course, I join all these Facebook groups for parks and public lands, but I recently saw some amazing footage of some visitors that went all through Sequoia National Park in the snow and had a blast, and they had the right shoes for it, and they even did Morrow Rock. I was like, dude, you went up, and they're like, look, but they had this beautiful sunrise or sunset glow, and I was like, wow, that is epic. That was epic. So it's available, but we have to be careful what we're doing in those conditions,
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for mentioning that, because I think it is important, and it makes the visit more enjoyable when people come prepared with those kind of things, like traction devices if you're going to be in the snow, layers so that you can bundle up, or if you start to get warm when you're hiking, the best way to maintain or to not get cold is to never get cold in the first place, and just kind of regulate your own temperature through clothing layers and being comfortable. And that makes the trip enjoyable for everyone.
And hydration, because people don't realize even in the cold, you're up. If you're going up, you're going up in altitude, so it might be a little change for you,
Yeah, that's right.
Your body. So, but I think this is such an exciting time of year. I remember being in Sequoia National Park a few years ago in the spring. It was in April, and I'd never seen the redbud in bloom all through the foothills up, and then yuccas in bloom, and I was like, oh man, this is so gorgeous. It really It's magical. It's magical. So
It
wildflowers
is
are a thing.
magical. I think like every season throughout the year, I'm like, oh, this is the best season of the year, but it's really true for all seasons, but
Yeah.
they're also unique. This time right now, like we've been talking about with the flowers and the green, it's just so gorgeous.
And it's, I think it's that change that we like. And then because summer,
Yeah,
I mean, that's really when the waterfalls, like, okay, late spring and then summer, the waterfalls are really going. But then you
that's
get this
right.
whole other crop of wildflowers that it just takes time to get that warmth into the actual mountain part. And then it's like all the meadows are just bursting with butterflies and hummingbirds.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's magic. It's magic.
it
Well,
is.
I wanted to touch on, I know that there's some changes. One thing, General's Highway, I know you had some work going on that, and that's the highway that connects Kings Canyon with Sequoia National Park. And the forest is in the middle of that too, right?
That's right. Yeah. And there's kind of a lot to take in with the General's Highway because it's so long and it goes through both parks and it connects our parks together. So visitors can see both Kings Canyon and Sequoia National Park. And during the winter, there's a regularly scheduled closure of that road just for maintenance purposes because of all the snow we get up there. And so that's been closed. And it's expected to reopen on March 21st. If the conditions allow. And so that'll be open once again for visitors to go through both sides of the parks, which is really great.
Yeah, good time to remind everyone to always go onto any park website. I don't care if it's national park, state park, always do this. Go to the website before you go, nps.gov/SEKI. That is the website. Just type in Sequoia National Park, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Go there because they have alerts for if there's a weather alert, like suddenly you might have a big snowstorm and you'll need snow tires or snow chains, excuse me, to get up into the park. So just always go there. And I know that like parks across the country, there's some visitor hour changes. So, but it seems like you have something open daily somehow. You guys are making it all work.
Yeah, that's right. So we do have some schedule changes with our visitor centers. So the Foothills Visitor Center, which is what you would come across when you first enter the Sequoia National Park from like the Three Rivers side. So that is now going to be open Wednesday through Sunday from 9:30 until 4 p.m. So that's a little bit of a change there. The Giant Forest Museum is Friday through Tuesday, and same hours, 9:30 to 4. That's going to be the same hours for all of our visitor center areas. And then
Okay.
the Canyon Visitor Center, which is in Grant Grove, coming if you're coming from the
Okay.
Fresno side, that's open Thursday through Sunday. And so those times will also be listed on the website. That's a great place to go. The website, the app are the two places where visitors can really stay up to date. And I'm glad that you mentioned about a winter storm and tire chains because it does feel like spring down here in the foothills. But then when you get up there, you could need tire chains. So that's something to pay attention to as well because you don't want to make the whole trip up the mountain and then have to turn around if you don't have tire chains.
Exactly, exactly. The other thing too is I know the ranger-led programs are postponed for now. However, Sequoia Parks Conservancy has an amazing program where you can actually book these different adventures they've packaged, even create your own adventure. And as we've talked about before, and they host also the Dark Sky Festival that's every September. But they raise the funding that helps support Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. They're like the direct friends of the park. And through these programs, I mean, you can go hiking with a naturalist, which we have done. And I mean, you're just like, dude, can we just slow down and get even more information? Because they do such an amazing job of really showing what this bug is doing and why, and you understand the ecosystem. By the time you leave, you're going to be like, wow, I am in awe of every tiny little bug to the giant, massive sequoia trees, So I encourage
Yeah.
people to do that because there's a lot of people history that they bring in. And, it is Women's History Month. So can I
Yeah.
give a shout out to Susan Priscilla
Yeah.
Thu, who she helped expand the park into what it is with riding out in the backcountry, which would be
That's
the
right.
wilderness area, right? And taking
Yes,
all this
yes.
footage and documentation. And this was back in the day where women were supposed to, be embroidering with their tea or something, whatever. But she didn't.
Yeah.
she encouraged Ansel Adams to stand up for the parks and the public lands too, right? So we got to
That's
give her a shout out.
That's right. Thank you for saying that. And I know that we've got some great information. If you do go to our favorite Crescent Meadow, there's a great information board there about her. And so people
Oh,
can, yeah.
I didn't know that. I don't, is that new?
I
I'll
don't
put it
know
on the
how new
website.
it is, but it's
Huh.
one of our interpretation signs. I think it's at the entrance where you can go either left or right there, kind
Okay.
of just by behind
By
like
the
the,
buttress tree. The buttress? Is it the buttress tree?
I don't
I
know.
don't, I've got so many photos of sequoias. And then they're, because when you see them, with their big bottoms, they have a big wide bottom and then
They
like
do.
no major, it's like when you see this, you're going to wonder how they even, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
When you see a tree down, and I've actually walked on one in Sequoia National Forest when on the Trail of Giants. No, that's
Yeah.
yeah, the Trail of Giants. And these two trees had fallen down like within days of each other, and they must have been a couple. They were united, you know. And they'd come down, and I was able to walk on top, which they're a little bit more slippery than you think because the bark is spongy. But when you see one actually down, you realize, holy cow, these things are massive. Like you can't even put words to it, you know?
Right. Oh, they are. And there's a couple of places in the parks where you can kind of go into like an old fallen tree that has been hollowed out, right? Because they decompose differently. And so we've got that great one in Grant Grove, it's the fallen monarch. That you can walk
Hmm.
straight through and you can get a photo of you and there's like sunlight behind you so you can really see how big these trees are that you're
Yeah.
inside of as you walk through. And then of
Wasn't that
course,
like a place where people would stop too? Like if they were hiking through, like that, it was like a little saloon in there. But it wasn't a saloon, but it was like an inn. Like if I'm talking about way back in when, people that were, traveling through would stop in there as their shelter. It was cool. If we're talking
yeah,
about the
and like
same one,
Tharp's log is really cool too. I'm sure
Tharp's
down
log
at
is
Crescent
log
Meadow, if you go
cabin.
to Tharp's log, yeah, you can see how he lived in there. There's like a little bench where, and a table, I think. There was
It's
a
bigger than a
little,
tiny house.
yeah, honestly, sometimes I don't know. When I go there, I think about how I could just live inside a sequoia tree and that might be quite nice.
I'm all for that, Just don't break it down, like let it die naturally. But that's the
Right.
thing about these parks, like going on these, excursions, like with Sequoia Parks Conservancy. I love what they do. So everyone,
Yeah.
sequoiaparksconservancy.org, that's the website for them and their programs, and just watch for that. So still so much to do. And then I know you're gearing up for National Parks Week starting April 19th through 27th. So that's coming up in later spring, so people can watch for that. And I'm sure we'll talk about that next month as well. We have to,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, today is World Conservation Strategy Day. And
Hmm.
just before this is airing, we did a whole feature on sustainable tourism. And we were talking about what communities can do and what we can do as travelers, because it's this important thing. And we're always talking about what can we do? How can we be better to the places that we visit? Sometimes,
Hmm.
yes, your tourism dollar is very important, but it's also how we behave. So, what is one of the best ways for us coming into the parks to be good stewards of the land?
Yeah, I think that a great place to start is the leave no trace principles. And so those are kind of just these same principles we've had for a long time: plan ahead and prepare, travel and camp on durable surfaces, which can also relate to like hiking, right? So we have some fences that protect some of our older, bigger trees. So making sure that you're staying on the trail, like that's one way to relate that. If you're not camping, there's still
Okay.
other ways that you can protect the resources by staying on trails in the designated areas. Now there are also places in the park where you can explore a little bit more and get up close to the trees, but the ones that have the fences around, I think that applies to that one.
Mm,
Disposing of waste properly, that's a big one. Just, packing out all the trash that you bring in. If there's not a trash can around you, just shove it in a little bag and carry it with you out of the park. That's a great way to help
mm,
out, is by just kind of keeping it clean around the areas that you visit and the stuff that you bring with you. Minimizing campfire impacts. That's something that our rangers also try to help to do, making sure that people are having
okay.
campfires in designated areas and they clean out those campfire pits as well. And so it's really important, especially where we are, to make sure that people are following campfire rules too. In the summer, we'll start to go into
Yeah.
some campfire restrictions. So just being aware of that, being really mindful with fires and when and where you can have them. Respecting wildlife. I know we've talked about viewing wildlife before a bunch of times, and I think that that's one of the best parts of being in the park is seeing the wildlife and how they're just existing in nature. And so being respectful of the wildlife, and that includes when we were talking about leaving no trace and packing your stuff out. That really includes food too, and proper food storage. So respecting
Yeah.
the wildlife is also making sure that they're not going to get a wrapper, a plastic wrapper or
Or
something like
something
that.
that they don't actually eat that can make them sick.
Something that could make them sick, something that's going to habituate them to,
Mm-hmm.
human foods. That's really, I think, respecting wildlife can go into a lot of different directions of how we treat the area that the wildlife lives in, and respecting their space in that way. And of course, we've all seen in Sequoia, I think, like bears are kind of our big animal for people to see. So making sure you're maintaining a safe distance away from the bears and you're just watching them and you're not approaching them too closely and just enjoying them being out there. And then, of course, being considerate to others. These national parks are such a treasure to our nation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're sharing these spaces together. And so I think,
Mm-hmm.
being considerate of others when we have these amazing places that people can come and experience nature and have that just incredible experience. We have to remember that everybody's trying to have an experience. And so sharing that space, being respectful of each other, not playing music, making room
Yeah.
on the trail, just making space for others and appreciating that everyone is there having their own experience in nature.
And one thing I learned too from Dana Dirks, who used to work at Sequoia Kings Canyon,
Yeah.
and she was taking us on a tour, and she's like, "Hey, I'm out of the office," because sometimes park
Yeah.
rangers work in offices, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Let me out, let me out." Anyway, we s- she was taking us to some of the main points on the General's Highway, and we went down into Crystal Cave and all over the place, and I stopped and she think I left my car engine running because we were going to go, and she was like, "Lisa, that would be enough of that." I'm like, "What? I thought it was better to keep on and off." She goes, "No, we don't, in these days of cars, we do not want to be adding fumes." So I have now, like, everywhere we go, if we pull over to stop even for a second, I turn the car off because I never ever realized like how much. And now that I do that, every time I think of that, I always think of Dana and go, "Thank you," because I don't even
Yeah.
ever think, and I'm as best, I mean, like, I love, love, love our parks, but I don't want to love them to death, right? So that's the important thing
Right.
that we don't do. But I never, ever just thought, "Oh, yeah, because you're not driving, you're still putting fumes into the atmosphere." So that's something when you see a nice scenic lookout and maybe it's cold and you run out and run back in your car, still turn the car off.
That's right. Yeah. And that reminds me, when we're talking about cars, that's such a great point too, is, being mindful of the emissions and how much we're using the cars. If you can take a shuttle, take a shuttle.
Oh, yeah.
But also, as you know, the General's Highway is a very windy highway, and not everybody's used to driving on these mountain roads. I certainly wasn't before I came
Yeah.
here. So we have really hairpin turns the whole way up. It, People have different reactions to driving, but we have these pullouts along the way that are perfect for if you are driving and you're driving very slow and carefully, which we very much appreciate. Just make sure that you look for that pullout if you've got a long line of cars behind you. I think that's one other way that we can really help others
Respectful.
have a good experience.
Because
Yeah, is
otherwise
using
people
those
get all
pullouts.
crazy. People start their anger starts up, which I don't know
Yeah,
how you could be like that in a park like that, but it happens.
it
We don't
happens.
need road rage in a park. No,
We don't.
no. But and also understand when suddenly people really go slow, it's the first time they've seen a giant sequoia tree, and
That's
their jaw
right.
literally is down at the floor because when you see it for the first time, you're going to be stunned. you
Amazing.
know?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And we want people to use the pullouts to take the time to take everything in. We want people to be safe. So sometimes what I've seen are, people with their phone out the window as they're driving and recording, and that's not a safe behavior. So make sure if you're a passenger, certainly, but if you're driving, eyes on the
Yeah.
road, pay
Yeah,
attention,
because
look
you
out for
never know.
wildlife.
Deer are fast.
We
And just when you
exactly.
think you may have dodged one, sometimes they turn back. Bunnies and squirrels do that.
Yeah,
They'll go on the side and then they'll come right back and there could be more deer coming after them, especially little babies.
that's
So,
right.
yeah, just it's magical. It is the time when you go to the parks to just actually put your phone away unless you're taking a photo and kind of have that magical calm. Like we're just talking, it's magical spring. I think that's what we'll call today's show. Spring
Yeah,
is magic.
spring is magic.
It is. Well, thank you, Holly. It is good to see you again, and
Yeah,
we'll
great
talk
to
to you
see
next
you.
month.
All right, sounds good.
Everyone, again, nps.gov/SEKI. That is linked in the episode notes. We're going to go over to our friends in Tulare County so you can hear more about what's going on in the community surrounding the parks that look up to see those beautiful snow capped mountain views. And they've got a little wildflower action going on there, too, and a lot of history. We're going to hear all about it now. Stay tuned. So, everyone, we know that there's so much to experience up in Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, the giant Sequoia National Monument, and also the Sequoia National Forest. And spring is a beautiful time to start exploring Tulare County. There's wildflowers, the orchards are in bloom, but the actual communities, we always say, go explore these historic communities that make up Tulare County. There's Visalia, Porterville, Tulare, Exeter, Strathmore, I think, right? Is Strathmore part of Tulare County? Okay. I don't know why that just came up in my head. Oh, yeah, because that's where Orange Works was. And I just saw a Facebook thing about them. And I'm like, that sounds really delicious.
Oh,
But there's a lot of Springville, Woodlake, Lindsay. There's a lot of communities to explore. All of
Dinuba.
them have really good food, a lot of farming. So, a lot of farm fresh flavors, a lot of history, which we're going to talk about, and a lot of public art that you can see murals everywhere. These communities are beautiful and it's family friendly. The whole region is family friendly. If you want a romantic escape, there's that too. If you want to do groups, weddings, business meetings, you can do it all in Tulare County, California. So check out discoverthesequoias.com. Right now, we've got three wonderful guests joining us to talk about what you can experience in March, April, and start planning for your spring getaway. So I'm going to bring Suzanne Bianco back on the show. She is again everyone's from the Sequoia Tourism Council, and you can go to discoverthesequoias.com. And Suzanne is representing Visit Visalia, and you can go to visitvisalia.com. So welcome back, Suzanne.
Hi, good to see you.
You too. Is it getting like springy in the air? Wildflowers, orchards?
Absolutely. I was just sweeping our front walkway here from all of the little blossoms that are falling off of the trees that line Main Street. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
cool. It's really pretty out right now.
Oh, that is beautiful, beautiful. I was thinking about that. We were touching on wildflowers and flowers last time on the show. And I was thinking about, we forget that Porterville has their own flower. I know that's historic and they're not growing them really anymore, but like if you go through downtown Porterville, you'll see those beautiful bearded iris everywhere.
Yes, yes.
Gorgeous. Everything grows in Tulare County, even those giant sequoia trees, right?
Excuse me.
So, oh, she's got the sneezies from the flowers. See?
Yes, I get the season.
So I want to go over to Amy King. It's been a while since we've had her on the show. Last time we saw her was a few years back at when we actually visited the museum in person. And that's the Tulare County Museum. It's at Mooney Grove Park in Visalia, which is an awesome park, especially if you've got kids and you want them to run around and, play with ducks and geese. And Amy, you've got an amazing museum. It's good to have you back. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to be here to talk more about the museum with you.
Yeah, the museum is incredible. And everyone, you can go to TulareCountyMuseum.org to learn more. But, we talk about all this farming and agriculture that happens in the area. And I think your museum really showcases who grows what in the area. I mean, I didn't realize how diverse Tulare County was until I really stepped into the museum and realized how many countries do you think you represent?
Well, we highlight 16 different ones in our cultural gallery. And so that's where we do the rotating series. And those are the main cultural groups that have contributed to agriculture here in Tulare County.
Okay. And then you've got all kinds of things inside the museum itself. You've got outdoor exhibits as well. So if people want to know what it's like to live on a farm, you can do that.
Sure, yeah, you can visit our the original museum has 4 different galleries, and that kind of goes through just general Tulare County history. We have our Native American basket collection. We have a pretty sizable gun and saddle collection as well. If you go through that
Don't mess
museum,
with Amy.
if you go
Yeah.
through there, you can go out to our Pioneer Village, and we have 12 different structures, and they're just schoolhouses and residences from the late 1800s. We have a Southern Pacific caboose that was used on the Visalia Electric Railroad, and most all of these buildings, you can go inside and tour them. There are a couple that we're working on. We have some great volunteers that have helped with some restoration work, and then we're going to start a very large restoration project on our blacksmith shop this year. So
Oh,
we've
wow.
been working with the Tulare County Historical Society to raise funds to work on that restoration because it's going to be probably the biggest one that we've done yet. So we're really excited about that. And then the other 2 buildings that we have are kind of both of the components that you talked about before, where our Farm Labor and Agriculture Museum, that does showcase the different cultural groups and their contributions to agriculture, but then also, like you were saying, just bringing awareness to the diversity that we have here in Tulare County. And so we reach out to the community, and we get items loaned to us and photos and those family histories. And so it's a really great way to connect to the community and kind of give them that ownership over the museum, because we really work to be a community center where people can go and learn and see themselves reflected there. The other part of that is our newer building, our farm equipment barn, and that has several pieces of farm equipment that used to be outside in our Pioneer Village, but we've been working with the local high schools. And so students have worked to restore those pieces
Oh,
for
wow.
us. And it's been really neat because they research the pieces, they find the original colors, they're finding original pieces and parts to make them complete. And so it's really neat to get the students involved in that way. And so that building showcases those restored pieces, and then some other larger pieces that are more rare in the collection. So we're so lucky to be able to take care of and share all this history with our community. It's a lot to see. We're on 7 acres, and you could spend
Ah.
days here.
Well, I know that Tulare just had the World Ag Expo happen, and so we've got Julia Dix from the Tulare Chamber of Commerce here. You can go to tularechamber.org, and Julia, I think Tulare Chamber, you guys were running like the international business office, right? So you talk about multiple countries. I think it was like over 70 countries.
I think it
you
was,
have people
we
come
had
over.
81 registered countries at the
Wow.
International Business Center. And we were their hub where they could come in and meet, do business. We also had, reception for them. We had meeting rooms where they could, meet with each other. And it was amazing because I got to meet people from Ethiopia, from Israel, from Nigeria, from all sorts of places, Holland, the Netherlands. I didn't know it at the time, but I met a former president of, I'm trying to remember the country, but I think it was Mongolia. I met the former
Wow.
president and his son from Mongolia. So it was
That's cool.
amazing. There were about, in total at the World Ag Expo, there were about 4,000 vendors and tens of thousands of attendees. And it was incredible just seeing how many people are so invested in agriculture and learning more about agriculture. I even pulled my 2 oldest kids out of school one day and took them and let them walk around and visit some of the vendors to learn more about where their food comes from.
That's awesome. And that's, one of the things Tulare does really well. You've got a wonderful museum in the downtown district, and you've got the Flying Taco, which we all love. But your museum is fantastic because it does the agricultural history too. But you've got, military history in there, Olympics. What's going on with all the Olympians? Suzanne, maybe it's all that good food, right? I mean, it's all the good food, but when we talk about this diversity of cultures, it's like going into a world meeting, a global meeting. When you go to Tulare County, it's like you're meeting people from all walks of life. And that means you've got, farm fresh food, and that includes cheese, dairy, all of that good stuff too. Ice cream at Rosa Brothers, right? Julia, that's part of, yeah, your backyard is good.
It is.
But
And at the museum, there's a whole section devoted to the military and Olympians, two different sections. But one thing I love about the section devoted to the military is that you can see the evolution of uniforms like throughout the years, and you can see, uniforms all the way from like World War I. And as a veteran, I love to see that and to see, that history come about. And then, yeah, speaking of the Olympians, I don't think I've ever seen a concentration of Olympians outside of the Olympics greater than what I see here in Tulare. And maybe you give a point about the food. I mean, Spinach did it for Popeye, so it must be something to
yeah,
it.
I think so. I mean, it's good food. And then it's like all these different restaurants you can go to that represent different cultures, right? So, I mean, it's farm fresh and delicious. So, but that part of the museum too, with the military, all the different uniforms, they represent women in military. We got to give a shout out, y'all, because it is Women's History Month. And, so Tulare County, and look, we've got women on the show. So here's to us all. But you got to think about women in agriculture, and I know World Ag Expo stood up on that and really did like a whole series of, like they had a whole pavilion dedicated to women in ag, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was amazing. And, speaking of agriculture, I believe in 51 days, April 11th through the 13th, we're going to have the Antique Farm Show in Tulare, also at the International Agri Center. And I think that's going to be a great juxtaposition, especially for those who were at World Ag Expo, where we got to see all the modern equipment that's used today in agriculture, and then to go and see all the equipment that was used back in the day. And I think, just as for me, seeing all those uniforms for the military people and, the evolution of them, I can't imagine how amazing it would be to see the evolution of farm equipment.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of history, Visalia is the county seat, but you have some crazy history in Visalia, man. You've got ghosts in there. You've got, was it Black Bart? You've got some outlaw history in Visalia, right? Suzanne, I mean,
yeah, well, if you've been around since the mid 1850s, then you're bound to have some characters come through your streets. So yeah, some really interesting history here. Visitors can come into our office and get a free historic walking tour map. They can do a little self-guided tour that takes them through the downtown area and highlight some of the buildings and learn about some of the notorious people that have lived here in Visalia.
and if you find one of those notorious people from the past, you can send them to Amy because she's got a jail. I remember that because I think we recorded your interview on the steps of the jail, didn't we, Amy?
I think we did. Yeah.
It was like, okay, all right, that's perfect for us, But yeah, Amy, when you think about this history, I mean, it really kind of starts looking at like the indigenous people of Tulare County, right? And Tulare itself was in your museum in Tulare, Julia, you've got that wonderful picture and painting showing Tulare Lake. I think if it's Lake Tulare or Tulare Lake, I'm not sure. But this was an area where indigenous people lived and, and worked and played and did all that they did. Of course, even in Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon, you can see that Three Rivers has a wonderful museum that also showcases indigenous history. But Amy, that's really where we should start when we think about the history for Tulare County, right?
Definitely. Yeah. We are really lucky to have a good relationship with local tribes. And so they've come out to different events. And I think it's really important that people realize that culture and that heritage is still here. It may look a little bit different, but it's just so important to acknowledge that and, work to preserve that. I mean, that's the whole point of a museum, is to really bring to light the history. But I really love the aspect of that still being present here, where I think that we do a lot of 3rd and 4th grade field trips here, and we love hosting the school groups, and they are at that grade level studying the local tribes. And so I think it's, sometimes the kids don't realize, they think, oh, that was, long ago. And it's like, well, they've just been here for a long time. And so it's been really neat, though, to see in some of the more recent groups, some of the kids will raise their hand and say, I'm Yokuts. And so they're just so proud to have that heritage in their family. And it's so neat to see, and they know how to use the mortars and pestles, and they're telling their fellow students about the baskets. And it's so great to see. Yeah.
Amy, if I may, I wanted to tell you my second youngest is a 3rd grader, and he went to the museum last week on a field trip. And I'm actually a transplant to this area, so I've not been to the museum yet. But when he came home, he was so excited. And at the dinner table, he said, "Can we all go to the museum as a family? I really want you to see it." Like, he loved it so much.
Oh, good. Yeah. We really try to get the kids to, it's like they're so excited, and it's like, you can come back. We're free. Bring your whole family. And then we do see that a lot. Families will come in, and we will always ask, oh, have you visited before? And so many times they'll say, well, we haven't been here, but he came on a field trip. And it's like, great, you're the tour guide. And so they can show them around, and they know all the cool places. But I think it really is neat that we have the old buildings and the train car and things that they can go in and experience and do, not just kind of looking at photos. So I think it really brings things to life for the visitors. And so we love our school field trips. We usually get around 5,000 students a year. And so we're just really thankful for them, and being able to present history in a different way and get them out of the classroom for exploratory learning.
I think it's great. And then also for visitors with kids, I mean, I think there should be a museum trail, because the museums are so diverse in what you do. There's galleries as well. There's the arts. I mean, Three Rivers has a Paul Bunyan statue outside their museum, so that's cool. Then you've got Dinuba, which is at a train depot, right? And that's cool. And then, I mean, it is. Porterville has like an epic collection of their music history.
Well, and Zalad House too.
The Zalad House, yes, we've done, and that's haunted. I've done that. I've been on the haunted tour. Yep. No, it's not creaky pipes. There's real ghosts in there. I'm telling you, that's some crazy history too. But the Porterville Museum is amazing, because the marching band history of the youth is incredible, and so for people to see that. But I saw a Turkish oil lamp that was made from whale oil, like in Porterville. I was talking about this on a different show the other day, about what you can find in museums that you had no idea how these, like, I didn't know that they were using whale oil lamps in Turkey way back in ancient times, but somebody had it in their family and donated it, so I'm like, that's cool. So going around to all these museums, to me, it's and then also Visalia, you've got the kids museum. Tell everyone about that.
Yeah, the Imagine You Children's Museum is a wonderful hands-on museum as well. I think it complements what they learned down at the Tulare County Museum. It has agricultural information, but it's really hands-on for young children. Under age 10, I think, is probably the target audience. But they can actually sort fruit. They can ride on a horse. They have a little veterinary place where you could pretend to be a veterinarian. There is a outdoors water feature that helps kids learn about snow melting and coming down the mountains and becoming water for agriculture. It's a really fun exhibit for them. Just really indoors, outdoors. It's so wonderful for kids to learn in that kind of environment, because it's not structured learning. It's learning at their interest and ability. So I think that's a really important part of learning.
And Ag Ventures at the International Museum Agricultural Center in Tulare is also a really fun place for all ages. I mean, they go to a virtual farmers market, and you have farmers markets too. That's the other thing. People can go to those. But speaking of family friendly, two things is get your junior ranger program when you go to the national parks for kids. That's really cool for them to understand about the trees and, you know, these just massive trees and all the nature. But also, Woodlake Botanical Gardens, I always give them a shout out on the show. It's one of our favorite places to go. And a lot of kids donate their time. It's a volunteer project for them, learning what you can grow. And when you go there, it's beautiful. You see the snow-capped mountains, you know, it's gorgeous. So a lot going on. So this is a family-friendly destination, I would say. This whole show just turned into family time. Sounds
Yeah.
good, you know. So let's talk about some of the events happening in spring. Obviously, it's beautiful. And the flowers, right? That when you look at orchards, doesn't this go into April, Suzanne, because of the citrus will start blooming?
Yeah, there's probably three or there's probably more than that, but three primary things that we can see in the spring. Right now, we're seeing the almond tree and the stone fruits are blossoming. So that's the sea of pink and white blossoms that are just blanketing the valley. It is the most spectacular time of year here. That segues into the orange blossoms in say April. And that's a very fragrant and heady kind of scent that you get when you're driving through on your way into Sequoia National Park or up into Kings Canyon. And then wildflowers. And the wildflowers are really fun because they start down low in the valley where it's warmer, and then kind of over the next few months will creep up into the national park. So you can really extend that wildflower viewing all throughout Tulare County. There's amazing places to see all of those types of things, the blossoms, the oranges, and the wildflowers.
Now, I know that there is an annual spring art event, which is a way people can go and drive around the county, right, and experience the wildflowers while they're doing it.
Yeah, that's true. There is the South Valley Art Tour. It is local artists in the Tulare County area that open up their studio space to visitors. So you get a map on where to go. You can drive around, meet an artist in their space and understand what their art is like and what they're doing. Obviously, you have an opportunity to buy their art as well, but it's a really great way to see a diverse group of artists and really see what their studio space is like. It's a really engaging opportunity.
And Three Rivers has a first Saturday art event as well, where artists are. I'm not. They don't have a downtown because they're on the riverbanks, but you can go into like the restaurants and shops, and you'll see artists, and also some of the artists open their studios too. So there's a lot going on there. Now, Amy, what is happening at the museum? Because you've got events happening too, right? You've got. I heard you're having a jamboree. I feel like we're going to have a big party at the museum.
We are. It's such a fun day. This is actually going to be the 8th year that we've hosted our jamboree. We do it every year in the springtime. And this year it's going to be on Saturday, April 12th from 10 to 3. It's here at the museum, and this is where we invite our community partners to set up a table and essentially just let everybody know all that Tulare County has to offer. So we also have kind of more interactive booths. We have somebody doing woodworking. We have a blacksmith. We have people doing like old-fashioned hand weaving. And then we're also working to have different kind of entertainment performances. We usually have a local dance studio come. And then this year, I'm really excited. We're having Reptile Ron come. And so he's going to bring different animals and do kind of an interactive 45-minute show where he'll talk about the animals. I think he lets people hold some of them. It will not be me. I don't do reptiles, but the kids love stuff. I've taken my son to things like that. And so it's just a really fun day. And then we also, some of the booths are just kind of resources for people that would want information on if they want to enroll their you know, family and music lessons or dance
Oh, cool.
lessons. And we invite all the other museums in the area to have a table to bring awareness to them as well. And I'm so lucky to get to work closely with the other museums in Tulare County. Actually, in 2019, I started the Museum Alliance of Tulare County,
Oh, okay.
which it's now expanded to include Kings County. So
Oh, cool.
there's a few organizations there that come. We meet quarterly. We offer resources to each other and kind of try and help out. And just bringing awareness to everybody. We actually now have a website, which is matkc.org. It lists all the members there. So if you wanted to go to, you know, the museum in Dinuba or Lindsay or Woodville or Woodlake, you can just click on that. It'll tell their hours, if it costs anything.
So you have the
whatever.
trail.
We
You
have it, yeah. We're
That's
working
awesome.
on trying to do a more collaborative project where we could do something like Museum Month, where maybe some of the museums that don't offer as many hours would be open longer, or if there's a charge, maybe it's free. And so we've been meeting on that and trying to come up with a way that we can just always, we want to be more present in the communities, and each of the museums holds very different and very special collections. And so I think that any events that we're offering, we try to include everybody and just bring awareness to all of us.
Did we miss out on any museums while we were talking that for Tulare
No,
County?
you did a really good job
I was
listing
just going
all
on the
of
back
them.
of my head. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we've been here, we've been there, and don't forget the Turkish whale
Yeah.
oil lamp. I remember this little. It looked like a little thing from a genie lamp. It's like, I don't know. It always stuck with me. There was a Turkish whale oil lamp, and I'm like, what are you doing in Porterville? Like, hey, we came on a train. Because this is the thing, you've got to think about how people came and migrated to the area, especially after the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. They all moved out, right? Farmers came after the Dust Bowl, moved across and landed in Tulare and said, the soil is fertile, let's go. So that's what happened. And look at it, it's thriving. And so you've got all these like your pioneer families that you're talking about, Amy, that they have a lot of cool stuff that they brought with them from all over.
Yeah. Definitely. And that's the exhibit that we have right now is the Westward Settlers. And so that has been a really neat cultural exhibit because each of the museums in Tulare County loaned us things from their collections. So it highlights the different pioneers and when they came. And it's always kind of a very similar story, even if, from the other cultural groups from other countries, it was family that came here and said how great it was and brought more family out. So it is a great area, obviously, especially for agriculture, but we're so grateful that that's something that we get to highlight here.
You still have
That's
the covered wagon?
We did have to return that to the Springville Museum. They were doing
That was really cool.
event. Yeah.
And Springville Museum is a trip too, man. They got beautiful roses out there in their garden. I remember that, So let's talk food, because talking about trails, right? I know Tulare County, the government county, is very, invested in making sure everyone visits, has a good time in Tulare, and there's so much to offer. But they are working on a taco trail, and who doesn't want to go on a taco trail? Like seriously. Everybody, any trail you can take should be good. So if you go to discovertularecounty.com, you can see they're working on this app, and it's like a widget to help you plan your trip. But tacos, man, Visalia's got tacos going on, right? You got tacos?
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
There's tacos all over. We have a little walking taco trail just in our little downtown area that talks about the different restaurants where they're from in, say, Mexico, and how that influenced their flavors. So that gives you a little different spin on it, to try the taco here because it came from a coastal region in Mexico or whatever that looks like. So that's a really fun sort of walk through different types of tacos. And I'm really excited for the one for the county because there's so many great places throughout the county for people to grab some tacos, or restaurants throughout the county that are really fun to explore. So that'll be a really fun thing to look for.
it goes well with all the breweries that you have too.
Beer and
I'm just
tacos
saying.
do go well together.
They do. And so Julia, you have the flying taco in your backyard, and this is an actual airplane
It's an actual
that you
airplane.
can go,
And
yeah,
you
with
go
tacos.
into it and it's the restaurant. You can eat inside this, kind of old historic looking airplane.
That's
So
cool.
it's really fun, and their tacos I think are kind of reminiscent of street taco that you would get in Mexico, and yeah, it's very tasty and very fun.
Now
Well,
I heard that, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that if visitors are here in April 26th is the taco truck throwdown. So they could come and help vote on the best tacos at the Visalia Mall. It's a huge event, and they have a lot of contenders that come out with their best taco, and the people that attend get to vote on what they think the best ones are. And that person gets to go home with the top prize. So that's a really great event, April 26th. At the
A lot going on in April. We've got tractors, we've got tacos, we've got jamborees with blacksmith. Now, Julia, when is the car show? Don't you have a car show coming up in Tulare?
We do. Our Cars on K car show is April 5th. And yeah, we expect over 125 cars. In the past, we've had about 4,000 attendees to come and check out all the cars. We have vendors, all types of food. There will be tacos there, in addition to other delicious foods. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. We'll award the top 30 awards to the top 30 cars, and then best of show. So we're looking forward to who that's going to be this year.
Now, I know you have concerts coming up too, right? Don't you have a new amphitheater? So people should start watching out that concerts will come. I think I don't know if it's in the spring, but in the summer, right? Is when you have concerts.
We do have the new amphitheater, and there is concerts planned for this year, as there will be every year. And I think it actually is supposed to start in the spring with Radfest, which was actually a concert they wanted to have last fall, but some logistics kind of didn't work out. So they're going to be this spring. And then, yeah, I think there's going to be maybe 4 or 5 other shows that will be planned. The last time we talked to Spade Entertainment, who's the organization that schedules and books everyone, they're still working on that lineup. But from what we've seen of who they've been in communication with, it's going to be a fantastic lineup.
Very cool. So we got music, we got tacos, we got trees, we got history, we got a little flowers. I mean, this is good. This is good. Okay. So let's go around and give some restaurant shout outs, right? Because, like I said, eating in Tulare County, eating is good. Now, Julia, I know that you just went to a new restaurant and you've been raving about it before we push the record button.
There is a new restaurant in Visalia. I believe it opened recently, within the last few months. It's called Tengu Ramen, and it is fantastic. I went there with my family. The first time we went there, we couldn't get a seat because the restaurant was packed, which is a good thing. And the next time we went there, we got their ramen, and yeah, the noodles were great. I got kimchi ramen, and so even though it's Japanese, the kimchi, is Korean, so it had some of that Korean flair, and it was spot on with its deliciousness. The broth was amazing. My kids loved it. So when kids like it, it's good.
Well, there you go. Talk about a review. You better tag them in this, so they know. So what about you, Amy? Do you have a favorite place for a restaurant for dining?
My kind of go-to is Casa Grande. I think it's been around for a while. It's really good Mexican food, but I love Bravo Farms too. And it's like they just opened a new site on Main Street, didn't they, Suzanne? Yeah.
Cool. It has 2 restaurants actually there. The main floor is a more casual, sort of traditional Bravo Farm style salad bar kind of. And then upstairs is the Hayloft, and that's a little more upscale dining with a bar. So you can choose your type of dining there.
And what about you in Visalia?
Well, I think that ramen must be having a moment because there's a place on Main Street called Sushi-ku, but was known for their ramen. Like it was going on Yelp crazy crazy busy for their ramen, and they're opening up now a ramen queue just down the street here on Main Street. So must
Wow.
be kind of a popular thing to be doing. So you'll have to check that one out, Julia, and see how that compares.
Yeah, for sure. And, I should also mention, as far as Tulare restaurants, we have a pizza place called the Curry Pizza Company. And it's pizza with Indian toppings. You can get a
No way,
chicken
I'm in.
pizza. Yeah,
I'm in.
chicken tikka masala pizza, curry
No
chicken.
way.
Oh, it's
Do they have
amazing.
samosas? Do they have samosas there?
I
Jason?
don't think they have samosas, but they do have chicken wings with some pretty unique sauces on them. They also have regular pizza. So if you have a family that's undecided, you can get the traditional Hawaiian or the pepperoni or whatever, and then also traditional chicken wing sauces. But yeah, it's very good.
Is that planing mill?
Planing Mill.
Oh my gosh, are they still going?
They
Because
still are,
I
yeah.
remember those pizzas being fantastic.
Yeah, they've got some really good ones as well. That's a great spot. And that's
Wow,
a nice spot
okay.
because they have the outdoor area that families can kind of hang out in the summertime, and kids can play, I don't know, the jumbo 4 in a row or whatever that's called. And they have the oh gosh, where you toss the beanbag in the
cornhole.
yeah, it's cornhole, that's the one, yeah. So
And the other
yeah,
one is Connect Four.
Connect Four, yeah.
Well, speaking of Bravo Farms, they're still there at the theater at the Tulare Outlet Center, right, Julia?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. I just want to make sure they're not just moving. They're opening new ones. They're
expanding.
spreading their Bravo Farm wings with lots of good cheese and sandwiches and burgers. Their Porterville burger, I remember that, is to die for. Yeah. Okay, man. All right. Now I'm hungry. Thank you all, because every time you come on the show, you make me hungry, and I'm like, now we need to come back.
There's also another Bravo Farm, but I don't know if this is outside Tulare County.
So Traver.
Oh yes. So
it's in Oregon.
It's okay. So it's a big complex. You can get ice cream and delicious foods, and you can't miss it when you're going down the 99.
Yeah, it's also a great spot to see the blossoms because they have a second floor walkway that looks over the freeway towards the fields of the groves that are all turning into the pink and white blossoms right now. So it's a really good blossom viewing location.
And good for kids. Fun kid place. Too.
Yeah, that's 7-story treehouse.
Yeah, and it's a good place for brunch. I had a really good brunch there. And if you want cheese, buy it there. They have wine. And all right. I just put on a bunch of weight. Thank you all for doing that. I appreciate it. But thank you so much for joining us. Amy, it's so good to see you again. Everyone, go to TulareCountyMuseum.org. Thanks for joining us and keeping us posted on all the museum happenings in Tulare County. Julia, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. And everyone can go to TulareChamber.org to keep up with the events in Tulare. And of course, Suzanne, as always, thanks for joining us, and go to visitvisalia.com. Everyone, again, discover thesequoias.com is the main website that will connect you with all these different communities we're talking about. And you've got your visitor guide out there for everyone right online, right, for people to go and connect with there. So good stuff. Thank you,
got
ladies.
our new one too, so.
Yeah, that's a new one's out there. And so get planning and get going, or just get in the car and go. Just go.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country Show. New episodes air every first Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You can keep up with the show at bigblendradio.com, but also plan your Tulare County escape. Go to discoverthesequoias.com.